Welcome to the Stan Simpson Show, a program about Connecticut people and compelling issues. Make it a point to drop in every week. In a verdict that was no surprise, Stephen Hayes was found guilty of murder and sexual assault in the savaging of a Cheshire family 3 years ago. But this case is far from over. The death penalty is now on the table, and yet another suspect has to be tried next year. Hartford Courant reporter Elaine Griffin, who covered this trial extensively, is in studio along with defense attorney Reese Norris to discuss. In our second segment, the first televised debates in Connecticut's two hot political races are over. Now what? We'll talk with Christine Stewart of CTNewsJunkie.com and The Current's Daniela Altamari, one of the questioners in the gubernatorial debate, to get their perspectives. Then we'll wrap things up with our relationship guru, provocative pastor T.C. Brantley of Waterbury, talks about why Christian single women have a tough time finding a suitable guy. But first, the saga of the Cheshire murders. Elaine Griffin, Reese Norris. We'll start with the Reese. You watch this trial as a third party. The question I kept asking myself as a reader is, why are we here? They had conceded guilt. They had conceded that they killed the wife, and had raped the wife. So the overarching issue was the death penalty. So why go on with this whole dance? In the death penalty in Connecticut, it doesn't happen for 20 or 30 years. If I was your client and said to you, Mr. Norris, I want these guys, I want justice, I want to push for the death penalty, would you have encouraged me to go through this?
Well, if I'm the defense lawyer and that my client wants to go through it, then I have an obligation to go through it. And my heart goes out to the lawyers, the public defenders, who are committed to defend him in this horrific case.
And my heart goes out to the family, but I just wonder, the things you saw there, the information, details you had to endure, and I'm sure for you, Elaine, as a reporter, as being a veteran reporter, hearing some of these details, even grizzly veterans were aghast at some of this stuff. At what point do you say, gee, enough, we get it? And let me talk to you about the national attention, the international attention. Did the frenzy surprise you? You've been through many trials. Did this one surprise you, the attention it garnered?
Well, from day one, this crime has shocked so many people that I didn't expect as many media there as that have appeared there, but I did expect there to be a lot. It's garnered widespread publicity internationally, and people see this case as their own home, an intruder who breaks in to their home in the middle of the night and does something to their family. It just seems to resonate with a lot of people.
As a reporter covering trials, it's always curious to watch the body language of the defense attorney, of the witnesses. What did you sense from watching the jurors' body language? What did you see?
Well, when they came out to read their verdicts, they seemed very resolute about their decision to convict him on 16 of the 17 counts. They didn't waver in their affirmation of their verdicts, and they seemed to be pretty resolute in their decision.
But now, over the course of this trial, 4 or 5 end up dropping out, right, because of different reasons. Was that a bit startling to see so many who were excused?
No, I mean, that's why they choose alternates, and in this particular case, they had a larger amount of alternates than normal, because they knew that over time there could be illnesses, there could be some type of work-related issue. So the fact that they picked so many alternates was actually a good move on their part.
How about the body language of Dr. Pettit? You're watching him over the course of 3 weeks. What was he like? How did he compose himself?
I think people have said it time and again. They're just shocked at how composed he is, how poised he is, how poised he was on the witness stand. And people have just marveled at the fact that he's able to hold himself together. He's got an incredible family that's been supporting him throughout this trial, and he's even said that that's helped him through this.
And even after the verdict, here are his thoughts, Dr. Pettit, after the verdict.
There's some relief, but my family is still gone. It doesn't bring them back. It doesn't bring back the home that we had.
All right, now, not over, right? You still have phase 2 next year. You have the other suspect coming to trial. Reese, again, back into this is a long way from getting any kind of closure. Right, so walk us through this. You have to go through the death penalty phase, and then next year, the other trial.
We're going to have the death penalty phase, and that's a totally different type of trial because the rules of evidence aren't the same as the trial before. The defense has no rules of evidence. They can get anything in support of mitigating factors in before the jury that they wanted, and the jury has to weigh and balance issues of aggravating factors and mitigating factors. But the depravity of this crime is the type of offense, I hate to say, is what is referred to in that statute as being such an aggravating factor as to warrant the death penalty.
So that's my question. I think I said before, the defense. If you're the family, right, and you know you have to go through this extraordinary dance, the death penalty phase, the new trial next year, more details, extra details, what's really being on the table here is the whole death penalty issue. It doesn't happen in Connecticut without an extraordinary amount of time and processing and procedure. Do lawyers have an obligation at some point to say, and yet Hayes is people saying that they offered supposedly to have jail, prison time with no chance of a parole. Why wouldn't that be an acceptable alternative to the situation?
It may not be acceptable to the Pettit family. It may not be acceptable to the state's attorney. They have the right to have an opinion, and it's a knowledgeable opinion. I'm sure Dr. Pettit understands the history of appeals once a death penalty is ordered, and it could be 20 years. You're right. He's obviously resolute enough to say, I'm willing to accept that. In the end, that's something I can live with if, in fact, in my mind, justice is done.
Elaine, from the people you've talked to, what are you hearing about the folks who say, gee, why don't they just cut to the chase here and cut a deal and be done with this? Versus those who say, no, make a point, let's make sure that the death penalty, if they do decide to enact it, gets done quicker. This is a textbook case for that. What are the different parties out there saying from what you've heard?
Well, I think there's one side that says the Pettit family deserves their justice and their day in court, and they need to see this process through the legal system. And then there's the other side that says, let them get life without the possibility of parole and just end it. They go into the prison system, and you'll never hear from them again. There'll be no appeals. We won't have to, hear about them from death row. But there's the other side, like I said, that says, let the family get their day in court. Let them see justice go through the system. And, I think that's something that people, they want to see the trial play out because they feel that it's something that both the Pettit family and, to some extent, maybe perhaps the community needs.
I asked you about body language, about Stephen Hayes, and when you're watching him over 3 weeks, what kind of body language did he reveal over those? Well,
as you know, he did try to commit suicide earlier this year, and he's just been completely emotionless. He's almost...
Did he look down, look up? Did he ever get any eye contact to the family or to the jurors?
Really nothing. He just seems very emotionless. When the verdict was read, he just stared straight at the judge's bench, didn't look at the jurors, didn't turn around, didn't really do anything. He just is very emotionless, and he just doesn't seem to really have any kind of emotion to give.
Cheshire Police under fire for the way they handle this. Did they respond quick enough? Reese, your thoughts. Public policy changes potentially with this? Was it fair to not the police? Was this an unfair rap?
A lot of people feel that it's a fair rap. That they waited too long, and I've read reports that say, maybe these girls were being raped while the police were outside.
You're a lawyer. Are they liable?
I don't think they're liable.
Why not?
I don't think they're liable because I think that they were following the code of conduct that was called for in that police department at this time. That's what I've read, that they're saying they did. They followed the book, and if so, I don't see them liable.
In 5 seconds, most compelling part of the trial, Elaine, you were there from start to finish. What's the one thing you found the most riveting?
Everybody was waiting to hear Dr. Pettit speak. He hasn't spoken publicly about what happened that night, and everybody was just on the edge of their seat waiting to hear what he went through that evening.
Yeah, mortifying story, and the scars to show it, right, the pictures. All right. Yes. She's Elaine Griffin and Reese Norris. Thank you both for your time. When we come back, we're going to have our two political reporters break down the recent TV debates. The Current's Daniela Altamari and Christine Stewart of CTNewsJunkie.com share their perspectives. Don't go away.